All right, Joe Biden's weakness on the world stage now is making America less safe. Now, Iran, they issued a warning on Thursday that a proposed U.S.-backed task force to protect ships in the Red Sea would cause, quote, an extraordinary problems in the region. Now, the latest threat comes after the U.S. destroyer had to shoot down yet another Houthi drone over the Red Sea yesterday. And again, we ask a simple question. Is Joe Biden ever going to forcefully respond to unprovoked attacks like these? Now, given his disastrous track record, I don't think I'd hold my breath. Anyway, meanwhile, in the administration's latest show of wavering support for Israel, according to Axios, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is now telling Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu that the, quote, high-intensity phase of the Gaza war needs to end within weeks. However, the Biden administration, they are pushing back on the report, saying Sullivan did not give a timeline. And yet another report saying Vice President Kamala Harris is pushing the White House to be more sympathetic to the Palestinians. Here with reaction, 2024 presidential candidate Nikki Haley. You know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, governor, ambassador, but I will tell you, if you're going to be involved in any conflict or any war, you should have one aim. I will quote Winston Churchill, victory. Victory at all costs against a monstrous tyranny. Wouldn't that fit here? Why would Joe Biden be lecturing Israel on how to fight and win their war? For them, it's a war of survival.
Sean, this is why none of our enemies fear us, is because they see exactly what Biden does. He did this with Ukraine. Now he's doing it with Israel. Either you're a friend or you're not. And why are you taking the side of Hamas as opposed to Israel? If you say you're going to be with Israel and support Israel, then do that. But you don't start drawing conditions on what they can and can't do. This was a country that fell to her knees with the worst attack since the Holocaust. And now they're trying to eliminate Hamas, the ones that did this, which, by the way, should be personal for America, because 33 Americans were butchered on that day. We've got American hostages. Let them finish the job. Let them finish Hamas once and for all. Stop telling them what they can and can't do. And stop worrying about whether Hamas and the people of Gaza are okay, and start worrying about what are we really going to do to protect the security of Israel, which, by the way, protects the security of America.
All right, maybe it's me, but I would say if Israel wants to have full victory, they need to prevent Gaza from ever again being a launching pad for rockets into their neighboring cities. I think victory has to be defined by ending that network of terror tunnels. Victory has to be defined by preventing Lebanon and Hezbollah from firing missiles using Lebanon as a launching pad into Israel, firing rockets and missiles. And I would also say if they want full victory, somebody's going to have to at some point deal with Iran. The way I would deal with Iran, nobody's asking my opinion, I would take out every refinery they have. That would cut back on their money supply. And if possible, somebody at some point, they better take out those nuclear sites before Iran, married with their sick ideology, were ever to get a nuclear weapon. Would you agree with that?
Sean, I mean, you have to look at the fact that Iran decided years ago, and they've been very good at it, at using their proxies rather than doing things themselves. There would be no Houthis without Iran. There would not be Hamas without Iran. There would not be Hezbollah without Iran. So they're using their proxies to do their dirty work. But if we really want to do something, why doesn't Joe Biden go back and put the sanctions down on Iran that were already there? Why are you letting billions of dollars flow to Iran from China, who's importing all of their oil? Why are you continuing to talk about an Iran deal when all that does is show weakness? And why not go after those in Syria and Iraq that continue to hit our military men and women? Hit their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq, give them one big punch, and they will step back. But right now, they don't fear us. And that all started with the debacle in Afghanistan. It went on with Ukraine. I mean, you see what happened there. I mean, first of all, the fact that Hamas invaded Israel on Putin's birthday, that was a gift to Putin. There's a reason he is the happiest man in the world, because what happened? Basically, U.S. and the West took their eyes off of Ukraine and put their eyes on Israel. And so now Putin's hoping this is the moment he can take Ukraine and go into Poland and the Baltics, and then we are at war. This is about preventing war, and Biden is failing on the job miserably and making the world less safe.
I would like to see America, and I know you were the UN ambassador. I don't trust these globalist organizations anymore. Historically, they have been anti-American and they have been anti-Semitic. I talked to you about this. I don't trust the World Health Organization. They were basically propagandists for China on the issue of COVID. I don't trust the WEF. I don't trust the Paris Accords that we were part of. And I feel like anytime we get involved in these globalist organizations, it ends up badly for the U.S., and we end up paying billions and billions of dollars that we can't afford. Does this need to stop? Should America now retreat from some of these globalist organizations?
Yes, and we need to go and show exactly what we mean when we do that. It's the reason that we got out of the Paris Climate Agreement when I was at the UN. It's the reason we got out of the Human Rights Council. It's the reason we stopped any taxpayer dollars going to the Palestinian Refugee Organization. We absolutely should get out of the World Health Organization. And anything that the UN is doing, look at how they failed at looking at the human rights abuses of what has happened to the women on October 7th. They're nowhere to be found. They continue to show themselves to be a farce. We should defund the UN as much as possible and let them know that until they start to become legitimate, we're not going to sit there and put any more money into it. Because right now what's happening is China's winning with these organizations, Russia's winning with these organizations, and no one is putting a stop to what they're doing. It's because they smell weakness. It's because they smell blood. America has lost its footing. We can get it back. We can get it back, but it comes with American strength. American strength always prevents wars and gets the world to be more at peace. We've got to go back to that.
Last question. Governor DeSantis was on this program last night. He wants to debate you one-on-one right here on this program. What would your answer be?
Well, I've debated him 4 times. I love debates. I have no issue with that. But quite honestly, Sean, the person I want to debate is Donald Trump. If you can get him on your show, that's who I want to debate. That's who we're looking at. That's who's, we're second place in Iowa, second place in New Hampshire, second place in South Carolina. Donald Trump's the one we're looking in the windshield. And that's the one that I think needs to get up on the debate stage. I think you'd be great at it. I welcome you to try and get that together. But that's our focus right now, is getting Donald Trump on a debate stage.
Any debate stage that does not have Chris Christie on it is one that I'll approve of. I'll put it that way. Anyway, Nikki Haley, thank you for being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.